Welcome everybody. I want to go around the room and introduce the wines for our third Summer Crazy Case Sale. So our first wine, starting in the least expensive section and working our way around, is the Uppercut Sauvignon Blanc. Classic California Sauvignon Blanc, melon, lime, 13 bucks. Fantastic, great, straightforward Sauvignon Blanc. Next we have two French white wines. We have Le Grand d'Estrée. This is a blend of Marsanne and Grenache Blanc. Brighter, richer than Sauvignon Blanc, maybe a little bit less acidity, not quite as herbaceous. Pretty wine, very nice aromatics, good texture. So this is the Bastille Blanche. This is made by a Bandol producer in southern France. Blend of predominantly Marsanne, Vermentino, which in that part of the world is Roll, with 5% Semillon added as well. This is a little bit more aromatic, a little bit more texture than, again, Sauvignon Blanc. Think of it as Pinot Grigio with a French accent and a little bit more body. Next we have Trouvé Rosé. This is a wine made in California by two sisters, one of whom is Australian, one of whom is California. Kind of a long story as to where this wine comes from, but it's pretty nice aromatics, fresh raspberry, strawberry flavors, delicious. We have a Jade Mountain. We may remember these from the last sale. We were able to rebuy the Jade Mountain wines. Nice, softly oaked Chardonnay from California, and along with that, a pretty decent Merlot. Shockingly, but not terribly surprising for those of us who know, the Merlot is much more interesting than their Cabernet is for the same price. Really, both good workhorse midweek wines, $13, $15 a bottle. They're really solid wines. Then we have two of my favorites. This is the Jubilee Lagrange. This is a wine that comes from northern Italy. Very dark, very thick, great flavor, nice acidity. If you love Dolcetto, if you like Petite Syrah, Cabernet, this wine's right up your wheelhouse, although a little bit drier than American Cabernet, but really good focus and balance. And then we also have probably the star of this side of the room, the Canoniqua de Ceretto Chianti Classico. This is a 2009 vintage. We found this in a warehouse in New York. It is unbelievable for the price, and definitely one that I would grab. Even if you're not a huge Chianti fan, this is much more serious Chianti than what you normally see. Franco Bernabé was consulting enologist here. Really, really great quality. We have another rosé. This is a Spanish rosé called Prolio. This is a wine made from Garnacha Tintorera, which is a very thick-skinned, dark clone of Grenache from the southeastern part of Spain. Drier, more savory, more substantial than you think of for rosé. Almost like a light red in its texture and body. Then we have Douro Rosso. Douro Rosso comes from one of our favorite estates in the Douro Valley of Portugal. It's very dark, very rich. This is the young vines, but off of their large property, 420 acres, all A-rated vineyards. Very rare to see a Douro bottling in this price range, especially in this sale. Then we have two wines from the Ribera del Duero. Explorer Club members may remember this one, Dominio de Castillas. This was a Explorer Club feature about a year ago. It has remained one of our top sellers. Sadly, the importer is no longer bringing the wine in, and we bought the rest of it. It's now on the sale, 18 bucks, killer. And another property, we have two wines from them, one on each side of the room. This is Eaux Fourniers Ribera del Duero. This is a winery that has, or a group of wineries, one in Chile, one in Argentina, and one in Ribera del Duero, Spain. This is the entry level for them. Beautiful wine, 2010 vintage, spectacular year. I always tell people, if you're a Cabernet drinker and you want to learn Spanish wines, Ribera del Duero is the place to do it because the wines are dark, they've got great texture, great tannin structure, deep fruit, and being 2010, ready to drink now. We also have another Spanish wine that comes from Valencia. This one's a blend of all kinds of stuff. Malbec, Grenache, Tintorera, Syrah, Graciano, Cabernet Franc, and really dark color, really rich, smooth. This is one of those wines that it doesn't fit any category, so it gets lost in this business. We were able to pick up a bunch of it. It's 2009 vintage. Yeah, 2009 vintage. It is really one of the best drinkers on this side of the room. We also have a little Beaujolais from you, showing spectacularly, the 2013 Macon Beaujolais Village from Joseph Duran. Beaujolais is a hot category right now. For those of you who are loving Pinot Noir but don't want to spend the prices it takes to get decent Pinot these days, you should be looking at Beaujolais, and this is a great introduction to the category. Then we have another club wine. This was a New World Red feature from a few months ago. This is the Andrew Rich Tabula Rasa. He's a Washington and Oregon producer. This is his Grenache Syrah Mourvedre blend, inspired by some time he spent in the south of France. It's a beautiful wine, bigger tan and bigger structure than what you think of for Côte d'Aron, but that's sort of wine. Great color, great flavor, and a store favorite. You'll see the next vintage come along pretty soon. Then there's a few other whites. We have the Trion. This is a Verdejo from central Spain. Think of this as Spanish Pinot Grigio, bright fruit, easy drinking, good minerality, totally dry. Just the type of wine that you can drink any time of the year, any summer or winter. This, by the way, was also going to be a weekly feature, and then I just ended up negotiating a better deal for it. And we have another Chardonnay from Oregon. This is Wildwood. Some of you may recognize the label. It looks suspiciously like Wild Hills. That's because they were forced to make a label change. There's obviously some sort of trademark infringement with this. Beautiful Oregon Chardonnay, Dijon clone fruit. To be honest with you, I can't remember if it's seized barrel or not, but it's a nice little Chardonnay. Good middleweight drinker. Great for dinner or all by itself. We also have New Zealand Pinot Noir called Ponga. This is made by Alan Scott Wines out of New Zealand. I love New Zealand Pinot Noir. For those of you who've talked to me about it, it reminds me a lot of what Oregon is, but at lower price points. This is normally $15 a bottle, and a really nice example and introduction to what is coming out of the Marlborough region for Pinot Noir right now. Then we have another return favorite from our previous club. This is La Tribu, 2010 vintage, I believe. Same vintage as before. Grenache Syrah Mourvedre blend. Think of it as a Spanish Côte d'Aron, but really showing beautifully now. I was delighted we were able to get 14 more cases of it for the sale. Fantastic wine, critical press, the whole enchilada. And finally on this side of the room, a wine that probably most of you would be surprised you'd ever see me carry. It's the Greg Norman Shiraz Cabernet. 50-50 blend. The wine's been more or less discontinued by the American importer. It's normally $18 a bottle. We were able to get a good deal on the last few cases of it, so we threw it in. And if you want a big, rich, easy drinking, smooth, California, Australia style Cabernet, there you go. Jumping over to the expensive side, I'll bring your attention back to the sign. What you get to do is pick 8 of any of the wines I just talked about. And now we're going to come back and we're going to show you the wines that you'll get to pick 4 of. And remember, when you get done adding it all up, it'll be no more than $120. So we have another sparkling. You may remember last year we had the Marquis de Galita, what we used to call the Camo bottle, which was their biodynamic bottling. This is their basically their ultimate wine, their top production wine. This is a Reserva 2010 vintage. It's called Mim. It is Brut Nature, meaning no dosage. It is as dry as sparkling gets. Very serious. 4.5 years on the cork. Really, for those of you who love champagne, love serious sparkling, this is a great buy. And we only have 5 cases of it, unfortunately, but great wine. We also have one of the marquee wines of the day is Tournon Chaise Flat Shiraz. This is made by the very famous winemaker Michel Chapoutier of France. He bought this property about a decade ago in Australia, looking for cool climate, limestone soils. Produces 2 wines, Tournon, which is a perennial Wine Spectator Best Buy, and then the Chaise Flat, which gets huge ratings by Parker and all the other big boys. This is a much more serious wine. It's got a couple years in the bottle, drinking really, really well. Normally $35 a bottle, so you'll definitely want to grab some. Then we have another wine from a big winery that I respect, but I don't tend to buy much from, and that's Catena. There's no doubt Nicholas Catena probably put Argentina on the map. He's what I would say Argentina's example of Robert Mondavi for promoting the wines outside of his country. This is a new label they've produced for Cabernet, about $22, $23 a bottle, 100% French oak, 14 months in the barrel. Very serious, well-made Cabernet. Maybe not California. It's a little bit drier than what you'll typically get from California's price range, but every bit as concentrated, every bit as powerful. We also have another Cabernet from Australia. This is from the Coriol family. This is in the McLaren Vale. McLaren Vale is a cool climate. Probably the closest thing it relates to in the U.S. would be Carneros or the warmer parts of maybe Oak Knoll or the lower parts of Napa Valley. The Coriol family famous for Tempranillo and for Sangiovese, but to pay the bills, they make a little Cabernet as well. 2011 vintage, barrel aged for 12 months. This is really serious Cabernet, cool climate, nice little sense of eucalyptus to it. Beautiful wine, and we've got it in good supply. Normally $23. And I have one other Australian wine. This is called Running with Bulls. It is a Barossa Tempranillo. If you don't believe in climate change, you have to talk to the grape growers around the world who are all planting Tempranillo in their vineyards, because it's a warm climate varietal, and even in Napa, this grape's starting to make an appearance. This is a beautiful example, richer than what we typically see from Rioja, not quite as structured as what we normally see in Ribera del Duero, that distinctly soft, thick texture of Australian wine. Really, really pretty example, normally $25. Sorry, $20. Then we have a couple of my big faves. So some of you will remember this. This is Gianni Brunelli's Apricale. This is one of our favorite Super Tuscans we buy every year. It's normally $23 a bottle, 2015 vintage. This is a store favorite, one that I have multiple vintages in my cellar of. We were having a discussion with the supplier last weekend about the Crazy K sale. He said, I want to get involved, and he cut me a stupid deal on this to get it into the club. So here you go, 23 bucks a bottle. We got a lot of it. Take it home. It's fantastic, and it's the end of the vintage. Then we have another rosé, this one from Mount Etna. For those of you who are wanting to jump on the bandwagon of Nerello Mescalese, you've read about it in the papers, you want to try one yourself. This is a version from the high slopes, done completely dry. So again, more savory, a little bit more weight to it than what you'll see from the Provence versions. Fabulous food rosé, something that we've really enjoyed. Again, we found it up in New York, brought it down for the sale. It's an amazing bottle. Then we have the other wine from the Eau Fournier winery. This is their Reserva called Spiga, single vineyard selection from the Ribera del Duero, 2006 vintage, and still has another 10 years to go easily. This is a beautiful wine. Big sense of oak, big texture, big color, big power. Again, California cab drinkers, you can't find a cab in Napa that's this good for $70, let alone $35. But then again, it's only going to cost you $10. Then we have a Reserve Club selection from the first part of the year. This is the Voss Estate Pinot Noir from Martinborough, New Zealand. Normally $45 a bottle. The winery we think went defunct. I was able to pick it up out of a warehouse up north right at the end of last year. It's a beautiful Pinot Noir, very articulate, very balanced, but yet with a good sense of mass in the mouth. I would say it relates most to Carneros Pinot Noir, for those of you who are fans of that category. And again, $45 a bottle normally. We've got about 50 bottles, 60 bottles, so get in line early for this one. Then we have a couple of Cabernet-based wines. We've got the Double Canyon Cabernet out of the Horse Heaven Hills in Washington State. Classic, big, square, shouldered, powerful, dark Washington State Cabernet. Has a good bit of oak on it. It's a big wine. It really could probably use a couple of years. But again, for $10 a bottle, you can drink it every night if you want. And we have the last of the 2011 High Flyer Centerline, made by the Priest Ranch Somerset Winery in Napa Valley. They have discontinued this label after the 2011 vintage because, frankly, there just aren't enough cheap grapes to make it anymore. So I bought the rest of it. There's about 48 bottles of it, something like that. Normally $25 a bottle, showing gorgeously. And drinking well now, could probably even use another couple more years, but showing great now. And last but not least, Paolo Scavino's Nebbiolo. This is one of my absolute favorite Barolo producers. As a matter of fact, Lee and I just shared a bottle of his 1997 Brinca del Fiasco Barolo on Sunday night. It's a fantastic bottle of wine. This is from the young vines of his cruise. Doesn't see any new oaks. He's a small amount of large barrels. But really, if you love Barolo, this is a great way to drink the flavor of Barolo without the tannins and a much shorter drinking window. 2013 vintage, very warm year, so very soft as Barolos go or Nebbiolos go. Big sense of fruit. Very easy drinking. This has been a big hit already in the store. And there's about 5 cases of this left. So I hope you enjoy the lineup this year for the Crazy Case sale. Everything's in pretty good supply, but the earlier you shop, the better the selection will be. Everything is here for now. It is not guaranteed. Once it's gone, it is gone. We encourage you to shop early, shop often. You don't have to limit yourself to one case. And if you can't get by, but this looks too tempting, give us a call. We'll be happy to pull an order for you with a credit card to hold it. and you can pick it up at your leisure anytime after this weekend. So if you have any questions, give us a call, and we look forward to seeing you. Thank you.